It's judgment time. Recompense for everybody crimes. Say you ain't sin the father, know you lying. Messiah open in them sins. You can't run the high. You running out of time. You need to change your mind. Repent or die. The clouds get closer to the earth. The wicked about to get hurt. Second Ezra 15 and 4. Judgment to come and saying, whoa, get on the ark and close the door. Your family, you trying to warn the father ain't playing no more. It's creation, chase creation, but not the creator. They gon' say right home when they feel his anger. He seen the prophets warning you from danger. He blew candles out cause he the maker. He gave us life, folks, and he the table. More than the wicked, we gon' see it without eyes. Dwelling in a secret place and watching people die. When on to your word, while my head to the sky. Got a feeling that I'm still alive. It's judgment time. It's judgment time. They sold the 12 tribe. The same trees they on the going, they burn it with fire. He sending floods, earthquakes, we in the end times. They gave his babies to the gators, don't forget now. He delivered us from Egypt, about to do it all again. Finding out that we the people, so we pushing down our sins. Father, we wanna go home, Abba, please let us in. Oh, we know unto your word, cause you about to send your wind. Abba, keep us from the hour of temptation. Trusting in your word, we just wait and come get us from these nations. Abba, keep us from the trickery of Satan. Trusting in your word, not these nations. We in the tribulation. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. How's everybody doing this afternoon? This is the day that the Most High have made, so let us be glad and rejoice in it this afternoon. Yeah, I'm late by the hour. I had something to do, so that's why I'm kind of late. But I hope the Most High really truly have blessed you over and abundantly with love, kindness, and joy. I hope the Most High really have truly blessed you over and abundantly the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of his word. I hope he really truly has blessed you over and abundantly with everything that your heart desires. Yes, I hope he has. I hope your week has been a great week. I hope the Most High really truly have blessed you over with I hope the Most High really have truly blessed you over and abundantly with everything that your heart desires. Hope he has given you protection this week. I hope he really truly hope he has. And as for my week, it's been a trying week, but it's been an okay week. This teachings today is about a warning. Today is about a warning. I had dreams and prayer this week, and the Most High really truly opened my eyes up about things going on in the world. So this is a warning to those who do not have the Most High as your quote unquote Lord and Savior. um, this is a message, and I want you to understand the teachings of it today. I want you to understand that um, we get ready. We in some critical times, and we have to really take heed to what's going on today in the teachings. All right. So let us go ahead and get started this afternoon. Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17, and it reads, "And Ananias spake out these words, saying, I am Yahuwah, thy Ananias, which I brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Ananias before me, and thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, thy Ananias, am a jealous Ananias, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy Ananias in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy works, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy Ananias. In it thou shalt not do any works, thou nor thy sons nor thy daughters, thy manservants nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore for Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy Adonai giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adulteries, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors, and thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house, and thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's." Okay? So let us pray this afternoon. O creators of the heavens and earth, of our radiance and vibrations, soften the grounds of our beings and carve out a space where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear fruits of our missions. Let each of our actions bear fruits in accordance with our desires within your purpose for our life. Bestow us with the wisdom of produce and share where each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled thread of destiny that binds us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which distracts us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of present moments. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the creator and power and fulfillment as all is gathered and made whole once again. So let it be. Like I said, shalom, shalom, shalom this afternoon. Sorry I'm getting on so late. But if you can turn to the book of Psalms this afternoon, the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms, verse chapter 91, 1 through 16. And I'll be talking to you about, this is where I be coming from today, the book of Psalms. 1 through 16, and the key verse is verse 9. Okay, the key verse is verse 9, and it reads, "Because thou hast made Yahuwah, which is my refuge, even my most high, thy habitations. Because thou hast made Yahuwah, which is my refuge, even the most high, thy habitations." That is the key verse today. And the title of the text today is the Most High is my protection. The Most High is my protection. Mm-hmm. The word protection means the act of protecting, defense, shelter from evil, preservation from loss, injury or annoyance, shelter, defense, that which shields from harm or injury, keeping in guidance. And the word settle means to sink down, descend, cave in, become set or fixed, stable or permanent. Seat, place in a seat, sink down, come down. To place in a permanent condition after wandering or flirtation. Okay. And let's go to this one. First John chapter 3, verse 4. It said, whosoever committed sin transgressed also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law, and ye know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. Whosoever abideth in him sin not, and whoever sinneth has not seen him, neither know him. Understand that. Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither know him. Okay? So now, let us go back to the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms was on my heart this week because of everything that's going on in the world. And the Most High gave me that because we need to understand certain things about the Most High. This is one that is very. I'm gonna come back to this. I'm gonna come back to it though, but we have to understand something about who wrote the book of Psalms, which is David. But they also say that Moses had something to do with Psalms 91. And we have to understand that if we look at both of the people or the prophets, Moses and David, or Daniel, David, if we look at that and understand their life, we'll look at that the Most High was protecting them through all their situations that they was going through. Even in the midst of everything that they was going through, the Most High was protecting them. Even when Moses killed the Egyptians, even though, and he sent them to his father-in-law house, he married the two daughters. Then he even sent them back to Egypt. And after he sent them back to Egypt, he was protecting them through that point there. And even when he sent them through the wilderness, the Most High was with Moses because Moses had faith in the Most High. He also was willing to do whatever the Most High asked him to do. So when we're looking at that from the perspective of if Moses wrote Psalms 91, we understand it. But also, even if we're looking at it from David's point of view, and if we're looking at it from David's point of view, just look at the life of David. When David had to fight the lion and the bear, he had to fight Goliath. He had to go through all these wars. The Most High was with David through all the ups and downs of life. And it is very understanding that if David wrote Psalms 91, we could understand him because we see that David had the protection of the Most High on his life. Through all the ups and downs, through all the situations that was going on in David's life, the Most High protected David. Um and um we can look at that too because both of those men was very faithful
to Yahuwah. They was very faithful. Not saying that they didn't do anything wrong, because Moses killed a man that was in Egypt because they was messing with his Hebrew brothers. But also David killed Uriah and married his wife. They're not saying that they was perfect men, but their intentions, the intentions of them was for the Most High. They did not go after trying to satisfy the world and do what the world wanted them to do. They was more focused on trying to do what the Most High wanted them to do in order to be successful. And I think that's sometimes what we got to look at in life. And when we're looking at the books in the biblio, is that we got to look at the intentions of the title, the author, the historian, the prophet, even Samson. We got to look at their intentions, and was they trying to do the right thing, or were they after chasing the world? And that's something that we have to put in perspective whenever we decide to make a decision in life. Are we doing it because this is what the world want us to do, or is it we doing it because this is what the Most High want us to do? And if it's something that whatever the outcome is, just like when Moses killed the Egyptian, he had to flee from Egypt because he was being persecuted because he was going about things the wrong way. But that was his process of life. That was his only way of understanding how to be able to go through, understand how to become a leader. He had to go through that process. Even when you look at David, when he did that, whatever he did with Bathsheba and Uriah, David he had to go through that because he destroyed a man's family. So what eventually happened is he wound up destroying his own family, even though he had one son named Solomon who came in and did the right thing at the beginning of his life. They were both failures, though. David was the successful one, but he made a lot of bad decisions. But it says this in 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 14. It says, let me go to this.
You said 13, 14, 14, 13.
13, 14. And it says, but now thy kingdom shall not continue, but Yahuwah has sought him a man after his own heart, and Yahuwah has commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which Yahuwah commanded thee. So when that was talking to Saul, Samuel was talking to Saul. Samuel was telling Saul he was taking his leadership away from Saul because his intentions wasn't for your Most High. His intentions was for his own self-gratitude, his own self-pride and arrogance and ambition. And that is a very, if you really wanted to understand the characteristics of people who fail, he is one person that you can really look at to be able to follow, study, because Saul was very cowardly, but he was also proud and arrogant and boastful. And he wanted things the way he wanted to do, and he was very disobedient to the Most High. So that's something that I think we have to understand in order to really understand the people who fail in life have the very similar characteristics of Saul. Saul wasn't willing to fight for the Most High. Saul wasn't willing to do anything beneficial, obedient to the Most High. But Saul wanted the blessings of the Most High. So we have to understand that. But when we look at David, David was willing to risk his life for the Most High. He was willing to be obedient to the Most High. He was willing to give his life as a living sacrifice for the Most High. And that's what Paul was telling us in the New Testament, is that we have to be a living sacrifice for the Most High. By all means, by any means necessary, we have to live our life for the Most High in order to get the blessings of the Most High. And if we're not willing to do that, we can't expect the blessings from the Most High. That's something that I think we got to understand. So now when we're looking at Psalms 91, right, it's talking about David or Moses writing the song, but we both understand now why it would be understanding that if David wrote it, we can understand why David wrote it, because David was a man of war. He shedded blood. That is the reason why he was not able to build a temple. But even if it came to Moses, we understand if Moses wrote Psalms 91, why it is written in the manner it was written, because Moses went through obstacles in Egypt. But the Most High would protected Moses even in the midst of all of these things, right? But we got to understand, why did they get protection? Why do people get protection from the Most High and other people don't? Okay, let me do this. I want you to understand something, because we understand that the Most High is a spirit. We do understand that the Most High is a spirit, right? And it says this in Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, Ananias not mocked. For whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall the Spirit reap life everlasting. So if we're, like I just said to you, that the Most High is a spirit, right? If the Most High is a spirit, and we have to understand that spirits are words and words of life, right? And how we treat people, right? So now if we understand Galatians 6 and 8, it says, for he that soweth to the flesh, the physical realm, shall of the flesh, the physical realm, reap corruption. That means that whatever your intentions is about life, if it's only from the physical and not from the spiritual, you're only going to reap corruption. So that means that you're not in the presence of Yahuwah. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. That means that your intentions of doing the will of the Father is so much greater than trying to do the will of man. So when you're trying to do the will of the Father, which is the Spirit, you will have everlasting life. Understand that. Anytime you try to say that you want things because of this, and you want things because of that, and you want things because of this, and you want things from because of that, and it's all coming from the physical, you're going to reap corruption. You're going to do things that's unintentional. You're going to do, intentional. You're going to try to benefit physically from the things that you're trying to get. But if you're doing it spiritually, you're doing it because out of a need. Out of a need and not a want. The physical is a want, the spiritual is a need. Okay? So that's how you'll be able to have everlasting life, your intentions on life and how you live life, and what are you trying to do about life. You get what I'm saying? So now when we go to Psalms 91, I think it's very prevalent, because we're in some days and times, right, where even though I don't vote, even though we're in some days and times, right, we're in some days and times where the Supreme Court just really pushed the 1964 60, they just pushed the Voting Rights Act back. They just really knocked it down, right? They really set African American people back, those who vote or participate in the system, they pushed them back to the Jim Crow era because they don't have the rights to be able to have taxation without representation because they could be able to draw district lines over and zoning law areas over so they could be able to control the voting in the black community or the Hebrew community, right? It says this as I Googled some. I said, how can the voting rights affect black people or Hebrew people? It said the Supreme Court ruling Section 2 protections. See, now we don't have the protections that we used to have anymore up under the voting right. Because when we have the voting rights, it gave us a legal right to have physical protection up under the law because we can vote who we want to represent us, right? Now, because the voting right has been kind of jacked up, it kind of takes away us having voting protections. We cannot pick and choose anymore who's going to represent us in the House of Representatives because the simple fact is the voting rights have been kind of taken away from black people or Hebrew people. Because it says this again, it says Supreme Court ruling removes Section 2 protection, risking minority of African American people voting rights and representations. Our voting power is not the same anymore as it used to be long time ago because of what they did in Louisiana. It says Louisiana withdrew congressional maps, excludes a black district. Now they have the right to draw up redistricting lines in your community. That means that now they can draw up a community that only say you got 1% of blacks and they can draw it up where they can create districts where it's only 1% of the population of African American people in districts. And they can control how you vote. They can control who represents you in this new Voting Right Act. Right? It says Louisiana withdrew congressional maps, excludes a black district, prompting elections postponement. Voting advocates warn ruling enable racial discrimination under partisan motives. They can be able to change everything about who you vote for, who represents you, because they can be able to draw redistricting zones. And they did this intentional, and it will affect people in the 13th colonies. Okay. But I also did something too, right? I had okay, I'm just gonna deal with that for a second. But now because of everything that we see going on in the world, we have to understand that the physical protection is slowly starting to be taken away from us. The physical protection is starting to slowly be taken away, but we still have the spiritual protection. But we got to just understand that. But let us just go ahead and get started in Psalms 91. Okay, because this is very important. We understand that Moses was a true follower of the Most High. Moses was obedient to the word. We look at David. David was obedient to the word. David was willing to risk his life for Yahuwah. And that's something I think we really have to understand. If we look at all the prophets in the Bible, they was willing to give their life for Yahuwah. They was willing to go through conflict situations for Yahuwah. And the question I have to ask is, are we willing to do the same thing? Are we willing to be able to put your life on the line every day for Yahuwah? Or are you willing to die to the physical and live in the spirit of the word? Because that's something I think if you want something from somebody, you got to be willing to sacrifice yourself for that person or that spirit. You cannot expect for that person or that spirit to be willing to give you whatever you want, but you're not willing to sacrifice yourself for him or that spirit. Because that's what the Most High is, a spirit. So if you're not willing to sacrifice yourself, you're not willing to die, you're not willing to fight for whatever, if it's the physical, your husband, your family, if you're not willing, or your wife, or your children, if you're not willing to put your life on the line for them, you cannot expect for them to be willing to put their life on the line for you. And it goes the same with Yahuwah. If you're not willing to do whatever Yahuwah asks of you, you cannot expect for him to do anything for you. That's the bottom line. So in Psalms 91, it says this. Understand that. David and Moses may have wrote this. But we got to understand, people have a great you got a great responsibilities in order to get the reward that you want from the Most High. You have a great responsibilities. Because it says this in Psalms 91:1. It says, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadows of the Almighty. See, we as followers of Yahuwah has to be able to do something in order to get something. That's why Second Chronicles 7:14 is very important. We can't get if we don't put in. We can't get if we don't give. That's something that we as a people have to understand. If you're not willing to do something for Yahuwah, you can't get nothing from Yahuwah. If you're not willing to go to work, you cannot get a paycheck. If you're not willing to put into your marriage, you can't get anything from your marriage. But whatever you put in, that is what you're subject to receive. That's why Galatians 6:7 is so vital. If you're not willing to do what it takes to get something, you're not willing to receive no reward. That's why most marriages and most relationships break up today, because the simple fact is people cannot come in getting a ready-made relationship and expect it not to have to work, labor, hard work, up late nights, up early, have some good times. If you're not willing to do all that, you cannot expect to have something successful. That's why most relationships in our community are failing at an enormous rate, is because the simple fact is people are not willing to put in the work. But they want the reward of the work, but they're not willing to put in the work. So if you're not willing to put in the work physically, what are you willing to do spiritually? If you're not willing to put in the work spiritually, how can you reap a spiritual reward? You're not. You can't. Because it says, he that dwelleth, that means to settle. That means to be permanent. That means to be stable in Yahuwah. That's spiritual. This is a spiritual thing, not a physical thing. This is a very spiritual thing. If you're not willing to be grounded in Yahuwah right now, how can you get the rewards of Yahuwah? How can you live the right way? How can you be blessed and get the protection? Because if you're not willing to do it, how can he be willing to do it for you? We have a great responsibility. And see, Yahuwah, in my dream this week, Yahuwah was telling me, I don't give people warnings. I don't punish them 2 or 3 times. I don't give people warnings. I don't show them images. I don't show them the writing on the wall. He said, I did everything I possibly can do to people in order to get people to do the right thing. He said, but now this is it. This is it. I'm not giving you no more warnings. I'm not giving you no more writings on the wall. I'm not testing you and I'm not doing things to you no more. The next time something happens, it's going to be detrimental, whether it's physical or spiritual. Because he has shown people in so many situations around in life. You had the AIDS, you had COVID, you had all these things. And if you're not willing to change your life after everything that you see, he said, I ain't got nothing else to do with you. You knowing that some of the things that you have done in your life could have caused you to pass away. But you still here. You still existing. You still functioning. You still moving. He said, I'm not dealing with you no more. This is it. The United States do not have any more lifelines. They're done. Relationships, if they're not willing to give up their life and live the way they're supposed to live, they're done. It's done. It's cut off. It's over with. The Most High is not giving you no more lifesavers. Because how many times do he have to give you a lifesaver? How many times he got to show you corrections? How many times he got to take you through judgment in order for you to see that you got to do the right thing? He said, I ain't doing that no more. And that's what he showed me in my dream and in my prayers. We don't have time for this. I'm going to do it my way. No, you don't have time for that no more. The writing is on the wall and it's up to you. It's up to you now what you want in life, how you want to live your life. Because our great responsibility is dwelling in the secret place of the Most High. In order for us to get what we want, get the protection, we got to do something. We got to dwell in the secret place of the Most High. That's what we got to do. Let us go to Psalms 32. Because I want us to understand something. Now is not a time to be playing around. Now is not a time to take life for granted. It's not a time to be doing that right now. Psalms 32:7, it says, Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. See, in order for David to get the protection that he needed to fight Goliath, to go against Saul, to be able to fight in the wars, the Most High had to be a leader to David. David had to go to the Most High and say, hey, is this right? David had to go to the Most High. Before David went to any wars, David would go in prayer to the Most High before he did it. Before, when we look at the story of Moses, and when Moses was going back to deal with Pharaoh, Moses was getting guidance from the Most High to tell Pharaoh this, tell Pharaoh this, tell Pharaoh that. If this don't happen, tell Pharaoh this, and tell Pharaoh that. That's what we got to understand from that story of Moses being an example to us that if we listen to proper leadership, we can be successful. But if we don't listen to proper leadership, we can't be successful. We'll continue to be wandering in the wilderness. That's something we got to understand. Let us go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 11. Because we don't have time. We don't have the time that we think we have. It's all just been a smoke screen. Everything that you see today has been a smoke screen. To get your mind off something so that you won't be thinking about something else. Just like that Clay Thompson and that girl, that ain't nothing but a smoke screen. That ain't nothing but a distraction. Just like what happened up at the White House at the gala, that ain't nothing but a distraction to keep your mind off what's actually going on in society. Our country, they just found human meat at a McDonald's warehouse. Understand that. They just found human meat in a McDonald's warehouse. We are people who are eating McDonald's foods are eating humans because they don't have enough meat to go around. Understand that how our food looks. Ezekiel chapter 11 verse 16 says, "Therefore say, thus saith Yahuwah Ananiah, although I have cast them from far among the heathens, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. Therefore say, thus saith the Yahuwah Ananiah, I will gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel." Because of some things that we have to deal with, we got to go through. Okay, let us go to First John. That was a good example, but it wasn't. But I want us to understand something. We got to study the Most High Word so that He can speak to us and show revelations to us. That's what we have to do. Even if you on your phone 3 hours a day, cut it down to 3 hours and 50 minutes and study the Word for 2 hours, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. You just can't read a Bible verse and say, "Yeah, I'm gonna read my Bible verse for the day and I'm good." That ain't. What is that? That ain't nothing. That's nothing. If you're not really sitting down studying the Word, if you ain't giving the Most High at least an hour when you're studying, He can't reveal nothing to you. He can't give you no protection because don't nobody like any quickies. Don't nobody like a quickie. You don't like no quick feed. You don't like no quick food. You don't like nothing that's only like this. You don't want no quick relationships. You want long-term relationships. You like long and intense conversation. You want something that's beneficial to you. Reading a verse and say I read my daily bread today. That ain't nothing. That ain't saying nothing. First John chapter 3, verse 24. And it says this, and he that keepeth his commandments dwell in him. Listen to that. He that keepeth his commandments dwell in him. If you keep the Most High's commandments, you're dwelling in Yahuwah. You settle. Your life is a permanent situation in Yahuwah's life. Your life is all surrounded by Yahuwah. If you are settled in Yahuwah, your life, you're living for Yahuwah. And it says again, he that keepeth his commandments dwell in him, and he in him. And hereby we know that he abideth in us by the Spirit which he has given us. That's why they say you know the fruit by the tree. If we keeping his commandments, his Spirit is in us, and we're living for him and not for us. Understanding that when we look at Christ, right? When Christ was hanging on the tree, right before he was hanging on the tree, right? And Christ knew what he was getting ready to go through. Some of the most prolific words that I think Christ could have ever said. He could have called 1,000 angels down and been able to save himself from the situation, but he didn't, right? But you know what Christ said? Not my will, but thy will be done. That's why he was able to be raised up again, because the simple fact is he wasn't living for himself. He was living for Ananias. And see, when you're willing to give up yourself for something else other than yourself, you're willing to be raised again. You're willing to be praised because they see that you put your life on the line for something bigger than yourself. When people get up and go to work every day, they sacrificing 10 and 12 hours every day or whatever they're doing every day. They're putting their life on the line for that marriage, their children's. That person will never pass away in those people's lives because those people understand the sacrifice that person gave for them. That's why Christ is so vital to us, because some of us understand the sacrifice that he did. That's why King will never go out of existence, because he passed away trying to do something right. That's why Malcolm would never be out of nobody's people's mind, because he died fighting for he died fighting for the life of people. That's why Marcus Garvey, that's why all these prolific people who we know of, that's why they would never go out of the memory of people, because they understand what they did. That's why some people are willing to put their life on the line for those people. They're willing to protect their name by any means necessary. But if you're not willing to settle in Yahuwah, how can you get the protection of Yahuwah? But if you're willing to put your life and settle and live for Yahuwah, why you can't get the protection of Yahuwah? Because he gonna give it to you. Let us go back to Psalms 91. And that's just with anything. If a man is not willing to sacrifice for his wife or his children, they ain't gonna get nothing about him. If a woman not willing to do the same thing for her husband or her children, she's not gonna get the same. Because they're gonna recognize that she's not willing to sacrifice their life. She's not willing to be uncomfortable for them. And if you're not willing to be uncomfortable for something, that means that you don't love them. So let us go to verse 2 in Psalms 91. It says, I will say of Yahuwah, he is my... Listen to this. Listen to this. Understand this. When you are in the secret place of Yahuwah, listen to what you'll be saying. And I will say of Yahuwah, he is my refuge, my fortress, my Anani. In him will I trust. Listen to what David said again. Because David is resting, studying, letting Yahuwah be his guide, right? This is what David's saying. I will say of Yahuwah, he is my refuge, my place of dwelling, my fortress, my protection, my healing, my provider, my Anani, my leader, my guide. In him will I trust. But listen to what Yahuwah saying. Put not your trust in prince, nor in the Son of Man, on whom there is no help. See, a lot of the time we put our trust in man, but the physical people who living for the world put their trust in man. But David's saying to you, or Moses is saying to you, the Most High is my refuge, my fortress, and my leader. And I trust him more than I trust anybody else. So whatever the Most High asks of me to do, I'm willing to do it. Even if I got to go fight Goliath. When I know that I am not the same as Goliath, I don't have the weapons as Goliath, I don't have nothing what Goliath have. But if I know, because I put my trust in Yahuwah, I will know that he's my fortress, he's my refuge, and he's my leader. And whatever I know whatever he asks me to do, he won't be asking me to do it to get rid of me. He's only asking me to do it so that he can see the glory, so that he can receive the glory and I can receive the blessing. Because the more I do for him, the more he bless me and the more he get glorified. David received the physical blessing, but the Most High received the glory, and the more people saw the works of David, they had to understand that it was something greater than David that was helping David in the process of life, right? Then it says, surely he shall deliver thee from the snares of the fowlers and from the noisome pestilence. He said, surely I know my Ananiah will deliver me from the traps of the people who's trying to harm me. He said, I know this. No matter what they try to do to me, I know because I put my trust in the Most High, he gonna always protect me. I'm not saying that when I'm not gonna go through no struggles. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna get into no fight. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna have no altercation. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna get sick. But in the midst of me putting my trust in him, I know that he'll deliver me out of it. Because sometimes it's good to get in a tough fight. Sometimes it's good to go through sickness. Sometimes it's good to be poor, broken, hungry. It is not good because it was a bad thing, but it's good because you need to understand the struggles. You need to understand how to be compassionate. You need to understand how to really truly fight. Because if you don't been in 1 or 2 fights and you don't got beat up, you're gonna say, well, I know the reason why he knocked me in my jaw because I didn't have my hands up. So the next time I get into a fight, next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put my hands up so he won't hit me in my jaw. Because some experiences supposed to be learning experiences. Everything ain't supposed to be a success or failure. Some things are learning experiences. Life are learning experiences. That's why Christ came on the earth, because he was a living example of how we should be. We were supposed to learn from Christ's life that you're going to have adversaries, that you're going to have backbiters, that you're going to go through struggles in life. Even the disciples had to go through the trials and tribulations. Disciples didn't have the people of the discipline didn't have the discipline until after the fact that they really truly took on the word. When the first storm came, Peter, I'm walking on water. He started to sink. The minute he started to get tested a little bit, his faith went away. The minute that he started to sink a little bit, his feet went away. Everybody good when they're on that boat. Everybody saying that's Christ, that's Christ. Yes, I believe Christ, I believe it. Yeah, but the minute you get put in a situation where your faith is tested, how you gonna feel then? But you got to go through those. You got to go through situations to strengthen your faith. You got to lose a couple of fights. You got to be broke a couple of times. You got to have bad relationships a little bit. And to understand how to win and lose, how to be successful and how not to be successful. But I was listening to this girl on TikTok this morning, and she said she thought she knew everything, and she thought she was always right, but she don't have bad relationships, and she wasn't successful in relationships that she's had. So how can you be so right about every situation and you're single, you're broke, and you're disgusted? How could you be so right about every decision you don't made when you got bad credit? How can you be so right and you're so smart when you don't have successful relationships? How can you be so right about everything about what's going on in your life and you live in an apartment and not a house? You got bad credit. You don't have no money in the bank. You don't have no retirement account. How could you be so right about everything that you made, every decision you made? And the fact is, ain't nobody right about everything. You have your niche of what you specialize in, and somebody that had a niche in what they specialize in. But if you think you're so right about everything, that means that you should have $1 million. You should have a perfect marriage. Your health is good. Your credit good. Your bank account good. And your spiritual life is good. But if you don't have that, you can't say you're always right about everything. You made some good decisions. And you made some bad decisions. But let us go to verse 3. Because we got to understand who's talking. David or Moses is talking. Why they're saying this? Because they understand the importance of the Most High being us being in, we're dwelling in the secret place of the Most High, studying His Word. They understand the importance of that because they have been through the trials and tribulations of life. Then it says, surely He shall deliver thee from the snares of the fowlers and from the noose of pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers under His wings. Shall thou trust? His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Understand that. If this is David, we understand the life of David. He has given us a book of wisdom. And see, I was Googling something this week about it because I've been studying on this chapter all week. Psalms is all about the wisdom, how you should function, how you should live, and how you should do things. And David and Moses is the prime candidate for that because the simple fact is their life is an example of how they were successful and not successful. When you say the Lord is the head of my life, is He truly really the head of your life? Or are you just regurgitating that because you heard somebody else say it and don't really understand the impact of it? If you're saying that the Lord is the head of your life, are you really truly saying that? Or are you a liar? Because you're doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, and the way you want to do it. But you still say, oh, the Lord is the head of my life, but when He ain't tell you to do what you just did, but you're doing what you want to do, but not going to the Most High in prayer before you do it. You can't say that. You can regurgitate it with your mouth, but you can't say that it's really truly in your mind. Because then you become a liar. Because our men fall short of the glory. Because you saying that, yes, the Lord is the head of my life, but the Most High never told you to go do some of the things that you're doing. It says, thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night, nor for the arrows that flieth by day. nor for the pestilence that walk in darkness, nor for the destruction that waiteth at noonday. See, a lot of the times when you have the Most High as the head of your life, quote unquote, the head of your life, some of the things that you see going on in the world really won't affect you. It won't affect you because the simple fact is you know that he's going to protect you. And let's look at Joseph's life, right? Joseph was a man of the Most High. But, okay, let's go to verse 6 again. Nor the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor the destruction that waiteth at noonday. Destruction that waiteth at noonday. Because Joseph was understood who the Most High was. Joseph understood that the Most High was taking him through those experiences in life, right? Even though Pharaoh received a dream that it was going to be famine in the land for 7 years, the Most High protected Joseph by sending him a dream of interpret so that he could be able to interpret a dream so that he could be prepared for the destruction. So Joseph got the message that, hey, it's going to be some destruction in 7 years. So Joseph, me being the Most High, I'm going to tell you how to prepare for those 7 years. So when the 7 years of famine came in the land, Joseph wasn't scared because the simple fact is the Most High have already sent message to him that it's going to be a famine and pestilence in the land, but I need you to prepare for it. That's what I need you to do, Joseph. I need you to go prepare for it. Because you just ain't gonna save the people in Egypt life. You're gonna save your family life. You're gonna save the whole region's life because of your obedience to me. Even though we may see destruction in the land. And see, sometimes people don't even believe prophets that come in and say, hey, we need to prepare for this, we need to prepare for that. Because the simple fact that they don't dwell in the secret places of the Most High. And they don't understand. That's why the Most High gives specific people specific thing, because he know he can't give everybody that because they don't want to take heed to it. They won't believe it because they don't dwell in the secret places, because they won't know who's speaking to them. It says 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. That's what we got to look at. That's what we got to understand. In the midst of destruction, even though it's terror at night, even though it's flying arrows during the daytime, whatever going on, even when there's death all around us. Because those people who's dwelling with the Most High, they may hear terror, but they may not experience terror. They may see destruction, but they may never experience destruction. They may see the wasted lands. They may see the arrows. They may even see people get sick, but they may never experience it because they understand who's leading and guiding them, who's protecting them at that moment, who's the head, truly head of their life. And see, a lot of us, some people are pretenders, but the Most High gonna test you because he, like I told y'all, he's not playing with nobody no more. He done with that. It's a done deal. It's written. If he don't give you warnings, he don't took you through experiences, he ain't dealing with you no more. Because he see that you're not true. You're mute warm. He said either you be hot or cold, but don't be mute warm. Okay? Then verse 8, he says, only with thy eyes shalt thou behold and see. Listen to that. I just said this. Listen to that again. It says, only with thy eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Then I just say that you may see destruction, but you may not go through it. You may see sickness, but you may not go through it. You may see destruction. You may see this stuff, but you may not go through it. Why you won't go through it is because you are dwelling in the secret places of the Most High. Okay, it says, because thou hast made Yahuwah, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitations. That is the reason why you never go through that. That's the reason why you'll never experience any of that. Because once you have said, the Most High is my Ananiah, he's my leader, my God, he's my protection, he's my healer, you will have the rewards that you need to have. You'll have the protection. You'll have the things that you need. Once you settle in, you will have the protection that the Most High need for you. You put for the Most High want to give you. Look at it. Just look at it. Joseph, prime example. Even if you want to look at Noah, even if you want to look at Noah, Noah was protected during the flood. Lot was protected during Sodom and Gomorrah, and his two daughters. His wife, Lot's wife, was disobedient. That's why she died. Because she didn't dwell in the secret place of the Most High. She didn't listen to what her husband told her. And because she didn't listen to what her husband told her not to do, she did what her husband told her not to do. So what ended up happening? She turned into a pillar of salt. Let's go to Genesis chapter 15, verse 1. Because once you settle into listening to what Most High is telling you, and you studying his word, he don't have no choice but to keep his covenant with you to protect you. As long as you continue to be disobedient, doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, the way you want to do it, but say the Lord is the head of my life, you can't get no protection from him. In Genesis chapter 15, verse 1, it says, after these things, the word of Yahuwah came unto Abram in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy seed, and thy exceeding great rewards. And Abram said, Yahuwah Ananiah, what wilt thou give me, seeing I am childless, and the steward of my house is a Isaiah of Damascus. He said, how can you give me something I don't have? But if we look at Abram, he's the father of faith, right? If we're saying that Abram is the father of faith, in order for us to be able to understand how Abram was blessed at 99 years old, and he was gonna have the kids that supply the whole earth, we got to understand how did Abrams get that blessing. He was faithful to Yahuwah's word, because the Most High came to Abram in the land of Chaldean and said, leave thy family, leave thy father's house, and go. Abram didn't question. Abram didn't do nothing, but just leave. That's why he's considered to be the father of faith. Even when he had to put Isaac and cut his neck out, about to get ready to cut his only begotten son. This the man that you promised me. This the child that you promised me, but now you telling me to go sacrifice him? Sacrifice my only son that you just gave me? Okay, I'll do it because I believe in you and I trust you. If you telling me to do this, even though I may not want to do it, I'm going to do what you asked me to do. That's Abram. That's Abraham, the father of faith, because you promised me you're going to give me something at 99 years old. Now you gave me something at 99 years old, but you also promised me that I'm going to have seeds There's more than the stars in the sky and more than sand on the earth. But now you're telling me to go sacrifice this thing, this person that you gave me, that came from my loins. Now you're telling me to go sacrifice that. See, everybody gonna be put in that moment of test. Most I gonna test you in situations just to see how you feel, see how you act, see if you really truly is faithful to Him. See if you really truly faithful to Yahuwah. He had to tie Isaac up, go get some fire, go get the wood, put his son on that altar. This one child that he just had. Now I got to put him on an altar and burn him and kill him because of what my God said. That's why that ram in his bush and that story is so important, because with faith is being tested every day to see where you at mentally, and it's to show you where you at, and it's for you to accept it or not, to accept your reality that, hey, I ain't where I thought I was at. That's why Christ told Peter, hey, you gonna deny me 3 times, Peter. Peter said, no, I'm not. I ain't gonna deny you. Who you think I am? I'm gonna die with you. That arrogance, that pride, that boastfulness, the character. Oh, I know. I'm gonna die for you. I know. Okay, Peter, I told you you're gonna die me. You're gonna deny me 3 times for the crow trot 3 times, for she cried 3 times, Peter. No, I ain't. See, sometimes we think we're in one place, in actuality, we're in a totally different place. Spiritually, it's because we're not faithful, because we don't sit and dwell in the secret places of the Most High. See, the only reason why Peter was able to put his life on the line is when he became one with the Word in the upper room on the day of Pentecost. When you become one with the Word, you'll be willing to do whatever Christ asks you to do. But as long as you boast, no, you ain't. So I'm gonna have to. Christ said, I'm gonna have to show you, Peter. I'm gonna have to show you you. It shows you the difference between people who have faith and the people who don't have faith or belief. People who have belief and people who don't have belief. You can tell the difference, because the people who have belief, their life is gonna be different than the people who don't have belief. Let us go to Isaiah chapter 54. Verse 17. Let us look at this one. It says everybody know this one, but do they really truly know this and understand why they know this or why they saying it? No weapon that is formed against me thee shall prosper. Every tongue that is shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahuwah, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahuwah. See, in order for people to be able to say that, they got to be servants of Yahuwah. Anybody can say that. Anybody can say that. But it says this is the heritage of the servants of Yahuwah. And their actions is of me. The word righteousness is the actions. The actions is of me. Whatever they're doing for me, whatever I ask of them is of me. The servants is you doing the will of the Father and not your will. That's why Christ said, not my will be done, but your will. Could you understand that when James was talking in front of the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the politicians, and they was and James was just going at him, and this James was just going at him? Do you know that James probably knew that his life was on the line, and he was willing to put his life on the line for Christ and for Yahuwah? Even though he was saying some stuff that they didn't like, he had to still do it because it was the right thing to do. So what wound up happening? He got stoned to death. James is being a servant of Yahuwah, and his actions was of Yahuwah. If you're not willing to do what Yahuwah asks you to do, you're not a servant of Yahuwah. If you're not willing to give your life on the line for Yahuwah, you're not a servant of Yahuwah. But those who are willing to put their life on the line every day, to do the will of the Father every day, to die to the flesh and live in the spirit, you're going to get the protection. Those people can say, no weapon that is formed against me shall prosper. And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. Destroy. That's what those people have the right to say. But people who don't live in a life of unrighteousness, you can't say that. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 13, verse 6. I'm gonna say the reason I had an early appointment this morning, right? I had an early appointment this morning. That's why I wasn't able to get here on time. I had to take care of some. It's difficult for me to take care of during the week. So I had to take care of this morning. So that's the reason why I was late, right? But in the midst of me being there, I had encountered this guy. And he told me, he said, I have a senior community. I help the seniors out. He said, I do a lot of work in the community. I do a lot of serving of the people in my community. Right? He said, but let me tell you something. I've had so many blessings because of me serving people and doing what people need. Mm. He said, the Lord is good. The Lord is blessing me in so many different ways. I can't even imagine, because go to Matthew chapter 25. Go down to verse 35. Go to verse 34. It's all about self-sacrificing, right? Self-sacrificing your life for the greater common good. Not putting your life in danger for anything, but sacrificing, giving up of yourself for the greater good, right? Understand that that's what Christ did, sacrifice. That's what all the prophets did. They sacrificed their life for the greater good, right? Then it says in Matthew chapter 25, verse 34 through 40, it says, Then the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, you gave me meat. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, ye visited me. I was in prison, you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungry, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king answered and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. See, that's the reason why that man was so blessed. That's the reason why Joseph was so blessed. Because Joseph was not just helping one group of people, he was helping everybody. Understand that. David just wasn't fighting for himself, he was fighting for Yahuwah and everybody in the nation of Israel. So the reason why we get protection, we get healing, get all this stuff is because of also what we do for other people. If you're not willing to do nothing for nobody, you can't expect to get anything. Let's go back to Psalms 91. See, that's what people have an issue with. They want to receive a gift with a closed hand. Can't receive nothing with a closed fist. In order to get, you got to give. You can't just talk bad about people and think that the Most High is gonna bless you. You cannot give to poor people and think that the Most High is gonna bless you. And you can't give to people who are gonna give back to you. Verse 10, it says, There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwellings. For he shall give his angels charge. Listen to this. 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 For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. When you have a pure heart and you try to do the right thing with the Most High, he don't have no obligation but to keep his covenant of protection and healing and provision for you. They shall bear thee up in thy hands, and lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and the adder. The young lion and the dragon shall thou trample under thy foot. Listen to that. Listen to that. This is what you will be able to do because the simple fact is you're doing the right thing. Because you're able to, you dwelling in the secret place of Yahuwah, he's going to give you some special abilities to overtake people that trying to overtake you. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. They say ain't nothing on it. No weapon formed you is going to prosper. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder. Listen to that. Thou shalt tread upon the lion. That's what David did. And adder, Goliath, the young lion, and the dragon shall thou trample under thy foot. Many wars, because thou hast set his love upon me. Therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high because he has known my name. That's the benefits. Because when you join yourself to the Most High, he don't have no choice but to give you benefits. He don't have no choice but to bless you. He don't have no choice but to give you what you ask for. That's why he say, that's why it says this in the New Testament, right? Go to John chapter 14. This is talking about righteous people. It's not talking about wicked people. It says this, whatsoever ye shall ask in my name, that I will do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If ye shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. He's only talking to the righteous, but he'll do whatever you ask him to do if you're a righteous person. Let's go to First Chronicles. I'm finna get ready to stop. 29 and 3. It says, moreover, because I have set my affections to the house of my Ananiah, and I have made my proper goods of gold and silver, which I have given to the house of my Ananiah, over and above all that I have prepared for the holy house, even 3,000 talents of gold, and of the gold, 7,000 talents of refined silver to overlay the walls. This is what happened when you are able, when you join yourself with the Most High. He don't have no choice but to bless you, to give you everything that your heart desires. Go to James 14 and 23. No, James chapter 4, verse 23. That ain't it. Hold on. Hold on for a second. No, just let us go to Romans chapter 8 and I'm done. Romans chapter 8 and verse 28.
28, right?
Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And I'm done with this one. It says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love Ananiah, and to them who are called according to his purpose, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestine to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestine, them he also called, and whom he also called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. So that concludes the teachings for today. The Most High is my protection because I settle in his secret dwelling places. In order for me to get the protection that I need from the Most High, I got to dwell with him. I got to settle. I got to join so that I can be able to get the protection. I can't just glance. I got to settle. I just can't walk by. I got to sit down and work with him. I got to sit down and do the things I need to do. I got to treat people right. Because it says, love thy father, love thy God with all thy heart, soul, and mind, but love thy neighbor as thyself. That means that in order for you to love somebody else, you also got to love you. Because ye are the temples of Ananiah, and the spirit of Ananiah dwells in you. So, Father, as we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you, Father. We give you all the honor and the glory, Father. We thank you for everything you have done, what you continue to do, Father. We just ask that you continue to let your word abide in us. We ask that you give us the strength to be able to make it through the tribulations and the destruction, but we know that you're going to protect us, you're going to lead us, you're going to guide us, you're going to heal us. Because we're seeking your word every day, Father. So we ask that you continue to let your will be done. Let your word not go out and come back forward. Father, let us hear the way you want us to hear, speak, see the way you want us to see, and speak the way you want us to speak. But Father, let us understand your word. Let us sit down in your dwelling place so that we can be able to receive your protection, because we have joined together with you on one accord in the upper room. Thank you, Father. In your higher name we pray, so let it be. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Francis of Earth, the can't go. Wonders in the condition, felt the pain of his people. The 40 days and 40 nights he had to overcome evil. You ever try to speak the truth? Nobody believe you. He had a mission from the Father, go down, die for his people. Every Isaiah 53, don't let go over your head. He knew that he would get betrayed, but he was still breaking bread. I am the truth, I am the way, I won't forget what he said. He was about to die, but resurrected, he did. You want the pain, I still keep mashing it. The devil one is dead, one is gone. Can't wait until he coming up alive. Keep them commandments cause he right on his way. Waking my people up, I want my people soul to get saved. Ain't no coincidence, we waking up all over the place. He put that crown up on my head. I wanna know what this is for Messiah, Messiah, Messiah. It's for Messiah, Messiah, Messiah. This for Messiah, Messiah, Messiah. This one for Messiah, 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 Messiah. All praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, creator of heaven and earth. Father, you told Abraham to sacrifice his chosen son to prove his faith. When he looked over, he see the ram caught in the thick, like thorns in his head. One time for the Savior. But will we make it through this tribulation? When the sun and the moon don't give his light no more, all you gonna hear around the world is truth. This one for Messiah, Messiah, Messiah. This one for Messiah, Messiah, Messiah. This one for Messiah, Messiah, Messiah. This one for Messiah, 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 Messiah.
Hey, y'all have a blessing. Shalom, shalom, shalom.